Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Neowin podcast, episode 3. I'm Rich Woods.
And I'm João Carrasqueira.
We're
And
definitely recording this time. We recorded like 10 minutes, and we talked for 10 minutes. We didn't record. So, do you want to tell us about your car fire? Tell us about the car fire. That was a good way to.
It's the best way to start an episode.
That is the best way to start a podcast episode.
So as you guys may know, there was a Honor event in London this week where they announced the Honor 20, and I was there. And so I woke up at 5 a.m. on Tuesday to drive to the airport, and my car just broke. It caught fire. I was 30 miles away from home already, and it just it caught fire. It kind of made a sort of exploding noise, nothing very visible, just started smoking everywhere. And then I opened it and it was on fire. So
oh my god.
That was...
Yeah, you're a real trooper for making the trip after that. I don't think I would have been able to do it. Because I mean, obviously I guess you had to call the fire department to put it out, right?
No, it actually went. It was pretty small. It was just a small fire near the engine, and I think it just went away on its own. I just ran away, and nothing happened. And next time I came by, it was fine, as in not burning anymore.
Yeah.
So it wasn't too bad, but yeah, it was on fire for a little bit, and that was scary.
Wow. Yeah,
it was scary. Yeah, it was a highway too. So it's not safe to be on foot on a highway, by the way, for anyone who's wondering.
Yes,
not a good idea.
But, all right. So also on Tuesday, we had the Windows 10 May 2019 update was released to seekers after spending about 6 weeks in the release preview ring. And, they did it differently this time, and I wrote the title. It's now available to seekers, but actual seekers this time, because you should now be able to see in Windows Update that the new feature update is available, and then there's a download and install button. Where previously the seeker method was anybody that hits check for updates just gets this. And it didn't work because obviously you might be looking for cumulative updates instead of a feature update. So they're being a lot more cautious this time.
Thankfully, because the October update was just a disaster.
It was a disaster. 1803 was a disaster too. Like, all right, the October update. Some people they skipped the release preview ring entirely. Some people upgraded, found that their files had been deleted, and obviously that's a mess. Even though it was a very, very small amount of people that had that problem, that's not a problem that they can afford to have on a non-beta release. And other than that, though, I found the update to be pretty good. I never had my files deleted. I never had any real problems with it. 1803, that was a mess for me. I updated probably about 15 PCs, and at least half of them were in some kind of almost unusable state. So the rushing thing has become a real issue for them.
Yeah, it has. I remember we've talked about this before, and we keep talking about this ever since Microsoft announced this different method for the May 2019 update.
Yeah.
And yeah, the release preview, even the small ring, has been more and more useless. And I don't know if it's not enough testing or they just don't care. Because some of the things that happened were reported, even though they skipped release preview. Some of those things were reported by insiders in the fast ring.
Well, I think they were trying to hit. I think they were trying to hit certain dates. They had that Surface event on October 2nd last year, and I think that they wanted to. They wanted to announce it was available at that event, and so they announced it. They pulled it 4 days later, and then it had to test in the release preview ring for a month anyway, when they were fixing it. So now they with the May 2019 update, they're just testing it for. They said a month. They said late May. This was the first Tuesday in late May, so it made sense. There are some issues with it. I was talking about before about how the light theme doesn't sync properly. I turned it on as soon as I installed it, and then I booted up another PC, and then it screwed up all my settings on this PC Because what happens is when you have an 1809 PC that turns on, that's on dark theme, um, it syncs that dark theme back, but it doesn't change the icons back. So you kind of have these black icons on top of a black taskbar, and they're really hard to see. And yeah, there are a few bugs that I found, and I was really disappointed because that bug has been there since they introduced the feature.
Yeah, I don't know if maybe it's because they assume that not a lot of people have two PCs and one's gonna be updated and the other one isn't. I don't know.
Oh, that's crap. If they do, plenty of people have a desktop and a laptop. Even
Yeah,
if it's
that's
just those
true.
two. And while it should be available to seekers with that download and install button, it's not. It's rolling out slowly. And I upgraded my main desktop with the upgrade assistant. I haven't actually seen that message on any of my PCs yet.
Yeah, that's weird. I would have thought that since they're making it optional anyways, you just, it show up for
No.
everyone. But a lot of people are reporting that they're not getting it, which I think is pretty strange.
They're taking it very slowly, which is fine, I guess. But
I think they're going too much the other way. They were so careless and now they're being overly cautious.
well, here's the thing, right? I think that at the end of the day, they've realized maybe that it doesn't matter that everyone is on the newest update as soon as possible, right? Does it hurt them if people take 4 months instead of 4 weeks to install this? No. You can stay on 1803 or 1809 for a little while. And it's not really going to be a big deal. So if they want to take it slow, enthusiasts can get it now. Other people, not only do they not even know this update exists, they probably don't even want Windows updates. Like the average person hates restarting their PC for an update.
That's true. That's true.
So tell us about what's new, though. You wrote this whole long article with a whole bunch of new features for Windows 10 1903. So tell us
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah, there's a surprising amount. Like I thought this was a relatively small update, and I guess it kind of is. But when I was looking at all the build posts to collect the information for this, I found that it had a little more than I thought it did. So
Yeah,
I feel like it's a pretty nice update.
sure.
So we have the light theme, of course. Now it applies to the taskbar, start menu, and action center, which it didn't before. And it looks pretty nice. I'm not gonna use it just because of how much I prefer the dark theme. It's so much easier on my eyes, especially at night. I do wish they had this thing like they do night light. I think I've said this in a previous episode, where you could just schedule it to shift from night to light theme to dark theme.
Oh yeah. Who does that? Android does that?
I don't know if they do.
I've seen that though, where you can schedule light and dark themes, and I just thought, why would I want that? Dark theme's better for everything all the time. I've seen it, I think on a phone, but I've definitely seen it.
Yeah, I think that would be cool because I like the light theme, but I don't want to be changing it every morning and then every night so it doesn't hurt my eyes.
Yeah,
So I think that'd be nice as an option. Eh, I don't think they're gonna do it anytime
I
soon.
don't think so either.
So, so moving on from the light theme. Oh, by the way, since we're on topic of theming, just real quick, the jump lists now use your accent color too. So they always used to be black, even if you add color on the taskbar and start menu and stuff. Now they're colored. They have the fluent design elements and all of that.
Right.
I actually disabled color on those elements because I don't know, it's too much. I feel like it's cleaner if it's black. So, but yeah, if you like colors, there you go.
Yeah.
Start menu has a bunch of things. More reveal, more font design stuff in the power and user menus. There's icons next to the options now. You can unpin entire folders and groups of apps, which is useful for people like you who don't have any tiles on the start menu. So when you do a clean install, you can just take it all away more quickly. I feel like that's a good move for people who like to clean up.
Actually, I do have some tiles now, but I use I have the office tiles there just so I can look at the inconsistency of the new office icons. Or really just so I can get a screenshot when something changes. I don't use tiles though. You're right. But go on.
Yeah, I like tiles a lot actually, but maybe
Yeah.
I think I'm one of the weird people in that sense. A lot of people don't seem to like it.
I just feel like I've moved on since like they made a lot of sense on Windows Phone. We all loved our live tiles. And now that Windows Phone is gone, it's I'm fine with just a start menu and a taskbar. And I launch my apps from the taskbar mostly.
Oh, okay. So I just use the start menu tiles basically to clean up my desktop. So I don't have any desktop icons at all. I just have
Oh,
everything on the start menu.
okay.
So it's easier for me.
Yeah.
So Start also runs in a separate process now, if you care about that. It's more of a technical thing. So it's not part of the shell in the same way it was before. It's a separate process. This makes it easier to identify problems.
Yeah.
And then the search and Cortana are separate now. That was fairly big news when it was first announced for insiders. So if you don't care about Cortana, which I figure
But
most people don't.
which Microsoft doesn't.
Exactly.
By the way, I shouldn't say that. Microsoft does care about Cortana. They just don't care about it in the same way that they did 3 years ago, or 5 years ago when it was launched in Windows Phone 8.1. It was going to be this big consumer voice assistant. This is more of an enterprise thing, or even if it's not a productivity thing, I should say. Something that's going to be in your apps. It can help when you need it to. But I shouldn't say that they don't care about Cortana.
Yeah, they added that whole demo at build with the conversational stuff. So they
Right.
care. It's just I don't think it's not the same thing as Google with Google Assistant or Apple
Yeah.
with Siri.
Or
It's a little
Amazon Alexa. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Oh, but you can use Cortana to talk to Alexa, so that's I feel like that's pretty nice.
And that's why, bringing Alexa to PCs makes sense because Cortana doesn't want to be in the same space.
Yeah, exactly. So and you can kind of have the best of both worlds because I don't think the other assistants are doing much in the enterprise and productivity space. At least I haven't seen many announcements in that regard.
All right, we're going off track. Let's get back to 1903.
Okay, so moving back to the update, just search has been a little revamped. You have a top app section now. Nothing very big there. Just some stuff here and there. Action Center has some relatively big news. They have a brightness slider now instead of a button. So instead of just tapping it, so before you tap it, and they have like 5 preset values: 0%, 25, 50, 75, and 100% brightness. Now just a slider. You can adjust it to your liking. You don't have to open the settings app anymore. I wish they had done this when Windows 10 Mobile was relevant. It was such a pain to adjust brightness on. It was so limited.
Yeah.
So I wish this was possible with Windows 10 Mobile at the time, but oh
Let's
well.
just make everything a Windows 10 mobile reference. That's the kind of show this should be. Yeah.
That's what people want. That's
That's what we all want.
um, so we also have, quick actions can be rearranged now without going into the settings app. So you can just do everything from the Action Center directly. Just makes stuff easier, I suppose.
You know where this would have made sense?
Windows 10 Mobile. Of course.
Hey, can we talk about how we can uninstall more inbox apps now?
Oh yeah, that's further down the list. But
yeah, I know it's further down the list, but this is like Light Theme is one of my favorites just because it's like a UI change. But this is also one of my favorites. You can uninstall 3D Viewer, Calculator, Groove Music, Mail and Calendar, Movies and TV, Paint 3D, Snip and Sketch, Sticky Notes, and Voice Recorder. Like, how great is that?
Yeah, for people who don't, I actually keep most of the inbox apps. Don't tell anyone, but that's I don't mind having them. But I know a lot of people complain about that.
Like Paint 3D, 3D Viewer, like I don't need this stuff on my PC. Groove Music is not a service anymore. I mean, it's fine as a default media player in Windows 10. And I don't use the I do not use the mail and calendar apps. I'm sorry, but I use Gmail web app. I wish the only thing I wish we could uninstall messaging because that app has been useless since what are we going to say? 1607? That app has been useless?
Yeah, basically since Windows 10 Mobile was
Yeah.
relevant-ish.
Yes. Now, do you remember when they introduced this messaging app, and I believe it was with 1511. I don't think it was in the launch version of Windows 10.
No, I don't think so either.
In 1511, they launched 3 apps. They launched a phone app, a Skype video app, and a messaging app. And the idea was to integrate Skype with the OS, and it would have these 3 different apps. They eventually realized that was a bad idea and made the Skype UWP. Then they had messaging everywhere, the feature that everyone misses, where you would relay SMS messages through the messaging app. Now they have your phone. So this app has not served any meaningful purpose in years now, and I don't understand why it's there at all.
Yeah, I don't either. I saw that in the deprecated features list. Now it can't. I didn't even know it could sync anything at this point, but now they say they can't.
Right.
It's even more useless, and you still can't uninstall it. I'm just learning this now. I didn't even know you couldn't remove it.
Yeah, and I've heard some people speculate, oh, they're keeping it for Andromeda, it's because it's going to be a mobile PC, it's going to have telephony. And it's like, but seriously though, even if they had some plan to have some pocket device that's also a phone, why would you force people to keep it on their laptop or their desktop? It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, not at all, really. If they're expanding this list now, there is no reason for that not to be included.
Yeah.
If you absolutely must keep it in the OS, at least make it easier to remove. But
yeah, or at least hide. I don't care. I just don't want to see it.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. It's the most useless app.
What else is new in 1903? Anything else that's exciting?
Well, I would like to be excited about Windows Sandbox. I don't have Windows 10 Pro, so that's the thing. I have a home edition, but I feel like this is a pretty useful thing. I don't know. I'll test a lot of stuff with Windows Sandbox if I like, because sometimes I download some sketchy stuff.
like Edge builds, like leaked Edge builds that come from Chinese sites.
I absolutely did not do that. Who do you think I am? No.
Yeah, who would do something like that? I don't even know. But I have Windows 10 Pro on my main desktop because I use the Windows 8 Pro key that I had to upgrade. But it's a cool idea. It's basically running a VM. So if you ever need it for something, it's there. It's useful.
Yeah, that's it. It's like I don't like setting up VMs. That's why I never do it. If I had Windows Sandbox, I would use it occasionally at least.
Yeah.
So what else? For security, there's like they messed with the security, like the sign-in options and whatever. You can use a physical security key now if you do that. Right. Those are pretty popular. I don't know enterprise spaces, but that's the thing. Windows Update as the biggest changes. We had a news article just for that because there's this whole thing we've been talking about with how updates are rolled out now. You can pause updates. Oh yeah.
Those features though they are coming to 1803 and 1809 as well. So you can use those features to get the get 1903.
Exactly. Okay. So it's not new in this update, but it's new around the same time as this update. So it's
sure.
That's why I included it here. You can also pause updates for up to 35 days now, even if you're on Windows 10 Home, which
that's awesome.
So that's what's new here. That's big news there. There was the thing about Windows 10 reverting troublesome updates automatically. I remember writing this a while back, and then it seems to be exclusive to 1903.
Mm.
So there's that too. So there's a lot of things about how updates can mess up your PC, and now Microsoft seems to be very careful about that. They had all this stuff in regards to addressing those problems people may have with updates. So I feel like that's good. It's a lot at once. And aside from that, there's a lot of little things. The reset this PC experience has a new UI.
Did you mention the game bar? You didn't, right? The new game
What?
bar the new game
Oh,
bar features.
oh yeah.
So
So game bar
that's pretty
looks.
notable if you use it, I think.
Yeah, that's one of the bigger changes as well. So I'm not sure if it's exclusive to 1903 because the game bar
It's
is
not.
basically it's an app, so it's
Yeah,
like
it's 1809 and higher, and they actually released the app update the day after on Wednesday they released it.
oh
But
okay.
yeah, so like you have it's pretty much a redesigned UI. You have widgets. There's a Spotify widget. There's you could turn your screenshots into memes, which they were very excited about. So you can take your screenshot, you could add some text to it, share it to Twitter. So that's pretty cool stuff. So I guess you're going to be adding more widgets and a more customizable experience over time. So it's pretty cool if you use the game bar.
Yeah, it's hardly a game bar anymore. I mean, there's I
It's
said
more.
that in the video. It's very much not a bar, but it's got a lot of stuff now. There's
Yeah, it's not a
performance
bar. You're
monitors.
right. It's not a bar at all. It's they should call it Xbox Game
Game
Center,
overlay or something.
Game
Or
Overlay. Yeah.
yeah, something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah. Oh, and by
So,
the way, it's not called Game Bar anymore. It's called Xbox Game Bar.
oh
That's
yeah, they changed the name now.
yeah. You want to talk about features being removed?
So yeah, let's move on to the It's not a
Oh,
lot. I
oh,
think previous updates have had more stuff removed. I'm
yeah,
not sure, but this is a very short list of removed features.
yeah.
So there's the syncing capabilities that I didn't know the messaging app had, but apparently they're gone now. So if if, if it still had any use, now it doesn't. And
Oh,
honestly, you
I
open
guess it
the
was.
app.
Yeah, I guess it was syncing SMS messages that were received from Windows 10 Mobile.
Yeah, but you couldn't use it. I think that might have been it. I just don't have Windows 10 Mobile anymore.
Yeah, no one does.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And you couldn't use it to send messages, so what's the point, really?
right.
But yeah, now it doesn't work. You open the app, the only clickable button is the ellipsis menu, and it just lets you see the information about the app. Like you go about, and that's it. That is the only thing you can do when you open
Yeah.
this app now. But it still can remove it. So
It's insane. It's insane. See, Print 3D is being deprecated. It's interesting.
yeah, it's interesting and weird because I was looking at the changelog for 1709, and at the time they removed 3D Builder from Windows 10 because you'd start using Print 3D to print things. And
Yeah.
now they're removing Print 3D and
Also,
telling you to use. So, but yeah, they in 1709 they removed the 3D Builder app from Windows 10. They just relegated it to the store
yeah.
and told you to use Print 3D for printing. Another going to the opposite direction. They're deprecating Print 3D and telling you to get 3D Builder from the store if you want to print 3D objects.
Right.
Weird
Right.
backtracking. I don't know why, but
So for those that don't know, deprecated does not mean they're removing it. It means it means that they're just not developing it. It might be removed later on. So I mean, it's still there if people want to use it. Windows to Go is deprecated now. That's kind of surprising, isn't it?
I've never used Windows
I
to
have
go,
not
but
either. Maybe that's why. Maybe no one actually uses it. I thought it was a good feature. I don't know.
it seems interesting enough. You can load like an entire workspace onto it. Like I don't know if you can like sort of export the entire desktop. I'm not sure how it's supposed to work.
Mhm.
I tried to read up on it a little bit, but I was as confused as I was before I looked it up. So
Yeah. All right. And then we got some known issues, right? In 1903. There's audio not working with Dolby Atmos headphones and home theater, duplicate folders and documents showing in user profile directory, um, and then display brightness may not respond to adjustments. So you had that brightness slider that you were so excited about, and guess what?
it might not work. They just had to mess it up somehow,
So that's an issue with some Intel drivers. We have then there are a bunch more known issues that are listed as mitigated, not listed as resolved. They're listed as mitigated, so which means that they're not as severe as they could have been. So things like older versions of BattleEye anti-cheat software incompatible, and this is an issue that they had for a while. It's not getting fixed, and
it's because it's not up to them.
right.
Because yeah, they're just waiting for games to update on their
Exactly.
side now.
So most of the games have been updated with newer anti-cheat software. If there are some games that haven't updated, those aren't going to work, and that's it. So that's what they mean by mitigated. Like it's been mostly fixed, but there might be still some issues out there. There's still an issue with attempting to update to 1903 if you have an external USB device attached. And the workaround is to remove your USB device. And then you can plug it right back in after you upgrade. Nightlight settings don't apply in some cases. And there's a link. If you go to the page, there's a lot more details with workarounds and future steps or whatever. But none of this is too major, and all of it will get fixed sooner rather than later.
Hopefully.
Here's the thing, right? So they're usually pretty good with servicing new feature updates. Like a new feature update comes out, there are some issues with it, and then after 2 months of servicing, it's usually pretty solid. And I'm a little thrown off by some of the issues with this update because it's been serviced for 6 weeks in the release preview ring now.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Yeah, if they had just skipped release preview, like this would be the point where I'd be expecting it to be pretty solid. So it's kind of surprised that and none of it's too major. I've been using it since Tuesday on my main desktop, and no major issues. It's a minor.
Yeah. But it's weird because some of these issues aren't exactly like last minute things. You have where was it? I remember something here being reported before. Where was it? I'm lost now. Oh, the update thing with USB sticks or SD memory cards. They acknowledged this a while back.
Yeah, they've known that for a while. Yeah.
So it's weird that they're rolling it out, but this stuff's still happening.
Yeah, and I don't know. Maybe they don't fix it. Maybe they just keep telling people to remove their USB drives.
I mean, it's not a hard fix.
No, so it's not a hard workaround.
I mean, people can do that easily.
So that's the Windows 10 May 2019 update. We've been talking about it for a long time, and now it's finally here. And you can download it with the Upgrade Assistant app or the Media Creation tool. It's not showing up in Windows Update for many, and they won't force you to upgrade to it until the version you're on is near the end of support. So they also said version 1803 is going to be sunsetted, believe, it's 18 months, whatever it was. And so they're going to start pushing 1903 to people on 1803 in June. Because that gets 18 months of support. So
that makes sense, yeah.
Yeah, 1809 usually will be a little more interesting because consumers still get the regular 18 months of support, but businesses will get 30 months of support from that because it's a fall update. So I'm curious to see exactly how they'll start pushing updates on that. So that's the May 2019 update. Let's talk about Huawei. We had two big stories this week. We had the May 2019 update. We had Huawei.
Yeah, Huawei. Oh my goodness, Huawei has been quite the story this week.
Yeah, I would have put it first in the notes, but we focused more on the Microsoft stuff, and so obviously the May 2019 update was a big deal. But so Huawei was added to the U.S. Department of Commerce's entity list, whatever the hell that is. but it basically means that Chinese that Huawei can't buy stuff from American companies, or that they shouldn't. So the first thing that happened was Google dropped support for Huawei devices. They suspended the Google Play license. That means that Huawei can't make Google Play Android devices anymore. Later, it was reported that Qualcomm, Intel, and Broadcom did the same, and that's bad news. And then later on this week, it was reported that ARM suspended Huawei's license, and that's probably the biggest blow.
Yeah, so, for sure.
Yeah, because even if they could use open source Android still, right? Nothing can stop them from doing that. Google can stop them from using Google Play, but if they can use open source Android. But without ARM's license, they can't even make their own chips anymore.
Exactly, because you have a lot of manufacturers making phone ARM chips, ARM-based chipsets. But all of them, Qualcomm, MediaTek, Huawei, they're all based on ARM's architecture.
Right.
So they have...
Here's the thing. I don't think if ARM suspends Huawei's license, I don't think it stops them from using ARM chips. I think it stops them from developing their own, which is the high silicon ones. I still think that they could buy an ARM chip from somebody else, and I think MediaTek is pretty much the only one left.
Yeah, because Qualcomm is American, so that's a no-go there.
Yeah.
And I doubt it'd go with Samsung because it's Samsung.
Yeah.
So
I mean, like Huawei it's been removed. Like the Mate 20 Pro is removed from the Android beta program. The MateBook X Pro is gone from the Microsoft store. They've basically disappeared.
Yeah. Huawei is getting hit on all sides right now. There's not.
Yeah, it's going to be hard for them. And I'm sure they have a plan, right? Huawei is the second biggest smartphone manufacturer in the world, just behind Samsung. They're not a small company. They're the biggest supplier of telecom equipment in the world, and they're a very large company. They're not going to take this lying down. China's not going to take this lying down.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm very curious to see what China does next, because I would think that the next move is for China to ban American products, which is disastrous for American companies.
Yeah, I mean, if American companies couldn't buy from Chinese companies, imagine that. If we reverse the roles there.
Yeah. Well, if Chinese companies stop selling to, I mean, all iPhones are made in China.
Most phones are made in China.
Yeah. Really. Yeah, and think about it. Then you have, and Huawei's another big one, just because they're the largest provider of telecom equipment. Yeah, it would be really weird. I think some people are happy about this because they hate Huawei. Some people are not happy about it because it's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah,
what's your thoughts on it?
Well, I'm on that second group of people that, even though I don't like Huawei phones, I have to admit I like
Why did you like Huawei phones?
I like their hardware. I just absolutely hate EMUI. I hate it.
That's the general complaint. I hear that. I think they're the best phone. Like, I think the P30 Pro is the best phone on the market, and I think it's always been a huge disservice to the American public that these phones are not allowed to be sold here. But pretty much stopping them from being made, I think, is just crossing the line.
Yeah, that's too much.
They've cited security risks, saying that Huawei could be spying on us, basically based on the fact that they're a Chinese company and Chinese laws, and there's never been anything proven like that, and it's ridiculous.
Yeah, I could understand some of the skepticism towards like letting them build the 5G networks here, something like that, because that's really massive scale, and you wouldn't really have a way out of that so easily.
But that's also crap. No, really, because what it comes down to is wanting to have an American company build out 5G rather than having a Chinese company do it. And the president Trump has tweeted out. That's how he makes his announcements. He's tweeted that we want American companies to be doing this. We shouldn't be counting on other. The guy, he ran for office talking about China. He started a trade war with China for that very reason. And now suddenly China's spying on us, and we should be concerned about a security threat. And it gets a little conspiratorial when you go down those lines. But I just think it's ridiculous.
Yeah, I think it just, I get that it wants American companies to be ahead, but you gotta allow fair competition. It's not Huawei's fault that American companies are being slower to
Yeah.
develop. That's not really a fair competition if you ban them. So
Yeah. I mean, it's just, I was talking to one person that said oh, I'm talking to many people that say that Huawei is they steal other companies' IP, that they deserve this. And like, you know what we do when a company steals another company's IP, that's what we have lawsuits for. And they end up paying billions of dollars in damages or whatever. We don't shut down their business in every possible way.
yeah, that seems like more like a sort of scapegoat than anything. It's
Yeah.
not really, it's not a justification,
Yeah.
not a valid one anyway.
I'm
And
actually pretty upset about this. If you can't tell.
that's understandable. It is very sad and completely unnecessary.
Yeah.
Uh, One thing that makes me curious, we mentioned ARM. I don't know why ARM had to cut off business with Huawei, because ARM isn't an American company.
They're a UK
It's
company, yeah.
yeah. So I don't know. Well,
They
of course,
said they
Google,
said they
Microsoft,
yeah,
they
they
have
said
to.
they may have they have US based technology that they have, which um really it probably comes down to just not wanting to alienate their whatever US offices that they have, whatever.
Yeah, maybe that's it. It's nonetheless, it's just this is too much to happen to Huawei. It's very similar to what happened to ZTE last year,
Yeah.
except no one cares about ZTE.
Right, exactly. No, that's a good point because Huawei is not a small company. Like I'm in the United States, and I think that a lot of people here don't see the significance of this because we mostly don't use Huawei products. We don't see Huawei products. They're not sold here. So we just think it's some Chinese company that, and we don't think of them as that important because we don't see them. But they are a massive company, that they can come up with a solution. I don't know what the solution is going to be, but it's up to them to figure out.
I I
They have
don't.
the resources. What I'm saying.
Yeah, they do. I don't believe, if the restrictions are maintained, I don't believe they can come back. They have the resources, but sometimes that's not enough
It might not.
because
We've seen AOSP, Android open source project from Amazon with their Fire
exactly.
OS. We saw it from Nokia at one point. Remember that, the Nokia
My
X.
ex, yeah, I remember that.
I still have one, and
Oh, really?
yeah, I do, and I have the Fire phone. I
And yeah, and like Amazon is a company with a tremendous amount of money to waste too,
absolutely,
and
absolutely.
that's why I'm thinking, even if Huawei does have, and they do have a lot of money, it's just a lot of work to build an OS, chips if you want to make your own chips. No, I don't know.
Yeah, I think
It's
they would have to buy him from MediaTek at this point because they can't build their own ARM chips anymore.
yeah,
Um,
and it's just too much.
yeah, it's
Um, And actually, I was just reading another report from Android Authority that they also can't buy add official support for SD cards anymore. The SD card
oh
association
wow,
also banned them now.
wow,
So that's
wow.
another one.
Um, but one thing that Huawei has that Amazon doesn't is market share. They have hundreds of millions of devices on the market. Do you remember years ago, probably I don't know, 2014, 2015, when Samsung was distancing itself from Android? Like if you watched a Galaxy Unpacked event, they wouldn't they never even mentioned Android. It was all TouchWiz or Samsung Experience, whatever it was at the time. And some people suspected that they might try to move towards Tizen phones. Do you remember this?
They did have a
They,
couple of
they did have a
Tizen-based phones
couple.
in some markets.
Yeah, in
Yeah.
some markets, and it never took off. But did you ever consider like they also have hundreds of millions of devices on the market? Like what if they just went one day and just pushed a Tizen update to all of them. You know, like obviously it'd take a massive amount of engineering. I don't know if they could with their Google license. But just what if that happened? Like, you know, they could probably force Tizen to succeed, because once you're on hundreds of millions of devices like that, developers kind of have to come to you, and you're going to end up getting apps on those devices, right?
That's a valid point. Maybe what's happened so far is that even though companies like Amazon or Samsung do have those resources, they didn't want to invest, and because they still had those options, they could still have Android, and maybe they just decided they could do without that investment. But Huawei, if they're backed into a corner, you know.
Right. I mean, if that's their only way forward, you know, I mean, they can't push Android updates to their devices anymore. Apparently, there's going to be security updates. So you know, the only way they can support them is with their own version. Maybe people could opt into it. They're going to have their own app store, and I bet it'll be more well supported than Amazon's app store, just because Huawei is a big brand.
Yeah, and the Huawei cares. I don't think Amazon cares about Android anymore. So.
No, they probably don't. I mean, yeah, they still make their Fire tablets, which, I mean, I guess that they're kind of niche products.
Yeah, they're very focused on that purpose.
You know, you like your $50 7-inch tablet, and that's fine. You run your Amazon services on them, but I don't know. I wouldn't buy a phone without Google services, I don't think. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a hard sell. You know, they have to do a lot of work to make Huawei phones worth it for people who already have Android.
You know what? You know what else didn't have Google services?
What else?
Windows 10 Mobile.
That's true. We survived.
We did, but you know what? Do you know what the biggest blow for me was when Google came out with Google Photos, because Google Photos is so good. It's such a great service, and not being able to automatically upload to that service from my phone was one of the hardest things about not having Google. So I didn't care about Chrome or Gmail app, because I mean, a mail client's fine. You don't need a Gmail app on a phone. I don't need a Gmail app on a phone. You know, a regular YouTube app would be nice, you know. So here's another thing that's changed since the days since those days. PWAs. Installing apps from a browser, packaging progressive web apps, and putting them in an app store. Maybe Huawei could capitalize on that idea.
That's also a possibility. They wouldn't be alone, at least. You know, Microsoft is doing the same, and it's something to leverage. PWAs still seem to be pretty popular. They had them at a bit of a higher point, I think. They're not as talked about anymore, but they're still making progress.
I think that one of the biggest, because I mean, obviously, I think they'd have to go with Android open source project, and so the apps in their store will be Android apps. So for most developers, or many developers, it should be as simple as just uploading your APK to them instead of just Google. Any apps that use Google Play APIs would have an issue. But also the biggest things they'd be missing are things like Google Photos and YouTube and Chrome or whatever. So really, Google Photos, I believe it's a progressive web app. So they would be able to substitute some of the Google apps by using the PWA to put it in their own store, and they could.
That's true, and I'm sure a lot of developers would also apps like YouTube. Like there's no official app for YouTube for Windows 10. But there are some very solid UWP apps. So if there are people that care about UWP, I'm sure there will be people that care about Huawei's OS, and they just make something for it too. Possibly even better than the official YouTube one, you know, like playing videos in the background, which they still can't do unless you pay.
That is true. Yeah, I mean, I'm so curious about how this happens going forward, because this could be all over next week. I don't know what the administration wants. Like they want, I guess, a trade deal with China, I guess is what they ultimately want. Right?
Probably. I'm not the best person to talk about U.S. politics.
Yeah, I try to stay away from politics as much as I can. You don't see me tweeting about it ever, but this is where tech and politics kind of intersect, and I'm very I'm very upset about it because it's hard to say, like when they were coming out these things where Huawei phones might be spying on you. I said that's ridiculous, but it's hard to talk about that without sounding conspiratorial because they're telling you something, and you're kind of saying that what they're telling you isn't true, and there's no way to say that without sounding conspiratorial.
Yeah, either way, you sound like a conspiracy theorist, isn't it? But no
Yeah,
matter what side you're on in a situation like that.
I just look at it and say like, all right, guy ran for president with issues like the China thing. There's other examples of it too, but there's an issue with China and trade, and now Huawei phones are spying on us. Like these coincidences are all over the place, and then you go into conspiracy theories about it. That's how conspiracy theories start. I just know they're great phones, and I want to be able to use them in this country.
Yeah.
You know.
I think most likely the U.S. administration will just revert this. I don't think they'll have the courage to go through with something this impactful.
Maybe.
And I don't know. I feel like they'll have to roll back this decision eventually.
I sure
Sooner
hope so.
rather than I think so.
Because it's just insane. Speaking of Huawei devices, tell us about London and the device you saw.
Okay, so after that trip, the wondrous trip we talked about,
Where your car went on fire.
happens all the time.
Yeah.
It's my regular trip, really. So they announced the 120 series at the event, and the event was pretty nice. I like the venue. Mind you, this is the first time I went to an event focused on one device, so I don't know how they usually are.
Okay.
But it's nice. You got a good view of the stage, so pictures weren't that bad. So the phone looks pretty enticing. So it has the main camera is the Sony's IMX 586 sensor.
Yes.
The 48 megapixel one.
Yes.
Much like
on a lot of phones these days.
Yeah, since they announced it, it's like on everything, really.
Like the Honor View 20 had it. Yeah.
They did? Oh yeah. The View 20 was that one with the arrow pattern on the back.
Yes, and it had the hole punch display.
Oh yeah, that was the back of that phone is beautiful. By the way, I saw that.
Yes, it was absolutely beautiful.
It's very nice. What's cool about this camera though, it has an aperture of f1.4. That's the largest according to Honor anyway, and I think they're right of any smartphone on the market right now. So that's impressive. And then they have a wide-angle camera, 16 megapixel, a telephoto sensor at 8 megapixel. And then they have a macro camera, 2 megapixel macro camera.
Yeah, what does that mean? You asked, like, did you talk to someone and say, what the hell does that mean?
No, they talked about it on stage. Basically, you can take pictures really up close. I suppose it has a focal point is very close to the sensor.
Okay.
So you should be able to get very close to an object and take a macro shot.
It's weird because with the P30 Pro, they said that the super wide angle camera was great for taking macro shots, and I always found that it was. I'm wondering why they would actually need a fourth camera lens for it.
Yeah, I'm not sure either.
Yeah,
but it's there, and even the 120, the non-pro version has it.
Yeah.
So
I thought that was a time of flight sensor when I first saw the images, but I guess not.
No, none of them seems to have a time of flight sensor really. The 20 replaces the telephoto lens with a depth assist camera for portraits, because why not, really?
So this phone, obviously Kirin 980 processor, it comes with Google services, right? They've confirmed that.
They didn't talk about that during the presentation, and
okay.
Since you're talking about this issue with Huawei, I wonder if that's that has anything to do with the fact that we don't have a review unit? Because that was a very sudden decision on Huawei's part.
It could be. When you said you were in when you were like the venue, I was going to say I've never been to London, and it looks like I never will now, because Huawei's done this before, where they work with U.S. Journalists, and then if they're never coming to the U.S., it's just not going to make sense to have us there. We tend to champion their products because they're great products, and we want them to come here, but. If the government just shuts them out, they're just not going to do it,
Yeah, of course.
But,
so
cool looking device. Yeah. I like the Honor designs.
Yeah, it looks nice. I like the back. Okay, I wanted to do a hands-on article with this, of course, but as much as I like the venue for my eyes, it was terrible for cameras. I could not get the colors right on camera at all. The lighting was all over the place. It was a huge mess.
So you said you don't know how other launch events are. I can tell you that pretty much all of them have terrible lighting. And sometimes, and I'll give you a tip. Sometimes if you can't get the balance on your camera, do you use a smartphone or use a camera?
I use a smartphone. I don't have a professional.
Oh, okay. Camera, so. Okay. I was gonna say, because if you can't get the balance right on a camera, sometimes a smartphone is the way to go, because they have great auto settings.
Yeah, but I still couldn't.
So that's the Honor 20. Let's talk about Edge. We got this week we have two new stories with Microsoft Edge, the Chromium based browser. It's available for Mac OS now, only in the Canary channel. We got 2 new updates in the dev branch for Windows, one that broke your PC and one that fixes it.
That's the best summary. That's really all we care about. There's no need to read the rest of the changelog. That's all they did.
I saw this yesterday. They tweeted it out that this new update might cause the browser to not launch. And I installed the update, and sure enough, it didn't launch.
I actually didn't have that. I updated it. It was fine. I was one of the lucky ones.
Yeah. You know what's really cool though is that they released the update with the fix today, and it works. And because I had this problem with Firefox Nightly once. I installed an update and it just wouldn't launch after that. And that PC I haven't uninstalled and reinstalled. It just still doesn't work. This one, even though I couldn't launch the browser, it updated in the background and fixed itself, which I thought was kind of cool.
Yeah, I was surprised. I saw they actually mentioned specifically that it would update regardless of whether you could open it or not.
Yeah.
And I thought it was interesting. It just, even if you don't touch it, it just works the next time. I think that was pretty cool. Yeah. When I launched it myself, even though mine was working, but when I launched it today, it already had updated. I didn't have to update it when I opened it. It was already done.
So now we have dark mode, right?
Finally. So yes. It was enabled for the Canary Ring last week, and now it's in the dev channel, as you'd expect. So there's that.
It's now on. It's now on by default. Oh no, the setting is on by default.
Yes. So it just follows your system setting. You can't toggle it manually unless you go into the flags, I'm assuming.
That's lovely.
So
one of the few Microsoft apps that actually follow your system setting by default.
Yeah. And it does so apparently on both Windows and Mac OS. So if you're using Mac OS Mojave and you have dark mode, you also have that. So that's pretty nice. Okay. Also, the translator is available to everyone now, apparently. It still doesn't let you opt out of translations permanently.
How long has this thing... Oh, yeah, I know. How long has this thing been rolling out to everyone? I feel like I've seen this story that it's rolled out to everyone like a million times by now.
I didn't even know it was a phased rollout.
I didn't either. I've just had it.
Exactly.
All right.
So that's that.
Cool.
And the third one, it's not a very big feature. I just want to mention that I had no idea what a keyword search for the address bar is. I read this.
I think that's AOL keywords. I think that's what it is. Do you remember those? Are you old enough to remember AOL keywords?
No, I don't. I'm not old enough for that. I'm sorry.
Like back in the day, right? We had AOL, America Online, And I don't know, you probably had Portugal online or something. I don't know.
No,
No, I
no.
don't know. But anyway, so like this was before the internet was really popular with consumers. So they had AOL keywords, and you would like a company would have a key like MTV would have like you would just type MTV and it would have it's like an AOL web page. And if you didn't have AOL, and you got some other internet service, you would actually have to learn how like URLs work and stuff. And you couldn't get those keyword pages. It was wild, man.
Oh, okay.
But AOL was a terrible service, and they ended up being
I
terrible.
think. Oh, I think I did use one of AOL services. Did I
Yep.
add AIM?
Oh
Did I
yeah,
add
it's Messenger. So like
I,
back like once like everybody kind of started to not use AOL anymore, you would have the free instant messenger application, and that was it was almost like the first social network because you could have profiles, you had a buddy list, and yeah, I guess that they first released instant messenger, I guess so you could talk to your friends that didn't have AOL. But yeah, that was the 90s.
I remember using that a long, long time ago. Not in the 90s, but
It was awful. Like you would try to connect to AOL and then you'd get a busy signal and then it would reconnect and you'd have to wait. And then you'd connect and someone else in your house would pick up the phone and then you'd get disconnected. Oh man, it was awful.
oh,
Yeah, but really it was expensive, it was bloated, and it was a bad service. So anyway, anything else about Edge Dev?
just some minor fixes. You can close the browser now from the menu for whatever reason. How is that easier than just going for the X button? And
Yeah,
why is there a close Microsoft Edge option in
I
the
don't,
ellipsis menu?
I don't, I don't know. So we got
But
we
yeah,
got Edge for Mac OS to test this week. The dev channel leaked again. Walking Cat had it. I don't know why they didn't release dev as well. Which they remember when they released it for Windows, they did Canary and dev at the same time. So they announced some exclusive features for Mac OS, like touch bar support with website shortcuts, tab switching, and media controls. Some different fonts, menus, shortcuts, title casing for that are more native to Mac OS. And then there's also things that are exclusive to Windows, like the upcoming IE mode. They said Play Ready content decryption is only supported on Windows 10, which kind of disappointed me. I did not realize that. But that means no 4K Netflix streaming on Mac OS. And that's about it.
I guess they want to keep that exclusive to Windows 10 because before it was exclusive to the other Edge. So
It was. And but I'm not sure why they would want to keep that exclusive to Windows 10, especially with like because it's not going to come to Windows 7 and 8.1 either when Edge is available for those.
I don't know, bragging rights. I'm not sure.
I guess. I don't know. But yeah, so well, actually, one reason it wouldn't come to Windows 7 and 8.1 is because you need Windows 7th gen and higher processors aren't supported by at least Windows 7. I'm not sure about Windows 8.1 now that I think of it. But so you need that for Play Ready to work, or you need certain NVIDIA GPUs. So there's a lot of hardware that wouldn't be supported for it. Not all of it, but some of it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Doesn't
Yeah.
explain Mac OS, but
No, it doesn't explain macOS at all. Yeah, so that's about it. Speaking of macOS, we have new MacBook Pros this week, and the 15 inch is refreshed with 9th gen H series processors. The 13 inch is refreshed with 8th gen processors, which Apple says are faster, and still has the same crappy keyboard.
they say they changed the materials though, whatever.
They said they changed the materials, but they're really clinging to this thing. Everyone hates it. Everybody would be so happy if they just gave them back a regular keyboard, but they just won't do it.
I mean, you gotta stick to your guns. Apple likes to stick to their guns. Like they don't make mistakes. Everything is a very well thought out decision, and they will die with it.
They like to stick to their guns until they realize that they shouldn't. Like the Mac Pro is a good example. They admitted they were wrong over the last Mac Pro. They're gonna have a new one, and they could do the same thing here. I just don't get Apple fans and Apple users. Like it's like I watch these people on Twitter and that like Apple, please just give us a great keyboard, please. And then you'll say something like Lenovo ThinkPads have amazing keyboards, and they'll just be like, Apple, please. It just doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, I get that they like Mac OS, but is it really worth having this terrible hardware experience?
Apparently, some people do it because of exclusive apps. I know a lot of people like Final Cut.
I know they like that. Yeah.
Maybe that's part of the reason. I don't know.
Yeah. So the 15-inch model, like really the only real differences are the processor. The 15-inch model has the new 9th gen H series processors. So like the last one, it goes up to a Core i9, but the new Core i9 is octa-core now, so it should be pretty powerful if they're not throttling it.
Yeah, that's the thing.
That was an issue with the last one.
Yeah, it was the first one to have a Core i9, and then it was slower than the i7 from the previous year.
Yeah. Well, I don't really trust benchmarks. I put them in reviews because I know people like to see them. I know people like to keep score, but real world performance might have been completely different. Like I said, I would never spend real money on one. So the 13-inch model. I don't get the 13-inch model. They said it was upgraded with faster processors, but I don't know that I haven't looked into this. But it's still U series, it's still Iris Plus, and as far as I know, the 8th gen Iris Plus U series processors, like there's only one model of these processors. So maybe they jacked up the clock speed, jacked up the wattage somehow, or maybe they have some custom processors, which is not uncommon for Apple.
Maybe, yeah. I wouldn't know.
Yeah. They've done it before where they like the MacBook Air is a good example. The MacBook Air uses Y series processors, which are 5 watts for everyone else, but they're using a different 7-watt Y series processor, which gives it a little more mustard.
I think I remember hearing about this. Yeah. I think I remember.
And I haven't looked into the model that this uses, but as far as I know, there's only one Iris Plus Core i5 and one Iris Plus Core i7. So who knows? So a couple more things before we wrap it up. Project xCloud technically supports 3,500 games. They announced this a couple hours ago. And basically what they were saying is that game developers don't need to make any modifications to their games to support Project xCloud streaming. So which means all Xbox One games and all of the backward compatible games will be, they don't need any modifications to work. They said it's technically possible, which means that they'll probably leave it up to the developers if they want to support it. Doesn't mean that 3,500 games will be available. I think this is a shot at Google. What do you think?
I think so, and I think this is actually, I've always thought that this is really Microsoft's advantage over Google here.
Yeah.
Because they're not as popular of a company, but they have a lot of Xbox games already out there. So all they have to do is make sure that those games can be played on xCloud, and that's exactly what they're doing, apparently.
Yeah, I read the blog post, and my first thought wasn't that like, oh, this is a cool announcement. My first thought was like, wow, they're really sticking it to Google, who has 0 games for their Stadia service. I'm excited about xCloud. It's going to be a cool thing. So if a game gets updated on the Xbox store, it's just automatically updated in xCloud. They also pointed out that they have over 1,900 games in development for the Xbox One, which seems really high. But so that brings the total to over 5,400 games that are technically supported by xCloud.
And that's a whole lot to start with. I think it's pretty good.
It would be really great if they had agreements from all these companies that just signed over all their games to just work. It would be amazing.
That's really Microsoft's advantage here. It's a big one because Google is just getting into this. They've got really nothing that we know of.
Yeah.
They have the advantage of having YouTube for those cool features with the streaming and joining games and whatever.
Yeah.
But
yeah, the gaming market is not an easy one to start off in. You know, you need content partnerships and all that stuff. I'm sure Google has a plan. Like Huawei, they're a massive company with massive amounts of resources. So like they could make it work if they put the priorities there. You know,
they could, yeah. But for one thing, we don't know if they will, because they've had the
exactly.
resources for a long time, and they have
Listen,
stuff like messaging apps just
listen.
dying. And
You know what else would work if they put in the resources?
I'm just gonna guess Windows 10 Mobile.
Yes, Windows 10 Mobile. No, but here's the thing: like when you have companies that have limitless resources, all you really need to get it to work is to put in the amount of resources required. You know, so Google could do this. I don't know if they
They
will.
want to, yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
I
Because
still
they
think
failed at a lot of things, despite all those resources, the messaging services they have. They
I
keep dying.
yeah, I still think Stadia is about mobile gaming and just being at the forefront of the next generation of gaming, where like this kind of console level of playing comes to phones, and um, Google is by far the largest smartphone platform provider with Android, and they don't want to lose that the money that comes through there. Like this should be a first party thing. So obviously Microsoft's going to want to take care of that. They have a gaming brand. They have the cloud backbone. They have they have 3,500 games. But I think Google's at least definitely going to want to try, because this is actually a really big arena that they want to play in.
Yeah, it is. I mean, putting Microsoft against Google in a fight like this, it's
Yeah.
to be.
Well, Apple's going to try too, but I don't think that Apple could do it with Apple Arcade, because um, Apple isn't really talking about a streaming service, right? They're just a game subscription service where they have like 100 mobile games, right?
Yeah, I don't. It's not the same. It's mobile gaming, but it's like this generation's mobile gaming. You know,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
like it's just like making them
yeah,
bundling them into
yeah.
subscription.
So like playing games on your phone, that's something that we all love to do. It's like a $70 billion a year business, and it's growing so fast. You know, it only
That's
makes sense that like the platform providers, Apple and Google, and not Microsoft because of Windows 10 Mobile, but Google, like they want to be there, and they're going to try to be there, and be a first party provider. But obviously, Microsoft's gonna make a play at this. Sony's going to, because they have the big gaming brands. You know, I'd love to see Microsoft team up with Nintendo and get some stuff done there.
yeah. If they put XCOM on the Switch, I'm definitely subscribing.
I'd be shocked if they didn't.
Yeah, it only makes sense, really.
It's about being available anywhere. And you know what else though? Like Microsoft doesn't have a handheld console. It would make total sense to make the Switch their handheld console. And then the Switch has all the Switch games and all the Xbox games in one beautiful spot.
Exactly, and for Nintendo it would also be great, because it would address the big complaint that people have with Nintendo consoles,
Oh,
which is
absolutely.
it only has Nintendo games mostly. So it's like,
Listen, it's like Nintendo, they make the Switch as a hardware company. And if I'm an Xbox guy and I'm sitting there saying like, nah, I just like my Xbox because I play Halo and I love Halo and Gears of War and Forza, and then they brought all these games to the Switch. I would buy a Switch in a heartbeat just so I can, play Halo while I'm on a plane. You yeah. Although a streaming service might not work too well on a plane, but maybe you could download it. I don't know. Bring Game Pass and let us download games.
they should do that. Yes.
It would yeah, you would get a lot of Xbox people buying Switches if this partnership happened. But we're heading down a path now. But that's all we got. You want to talk about Google Glass or no? I mentioned it. Probably should.
Yeah. Now we have to.
Yeah. So Google Plus Enterprise Edition 2. We won't spend too much time talking about it, but it uses Qualcomm Snapdragon XR1 chipset. It's better. It's faster. The reason that we were on the fence about whether to talk about this, but the reason that I found this somewhat interesting is because it just reminds me so much of HoloLens 2. Google has a different approach because it's a display that's to the top right of your field of view. So obviously it's not meant to be an immersive experience like HoloLens, but it is supposed to be for enterprises. And this is, I believe, the third iteration of Google Glass. They had the first one, and then they had an enterprise edition. Now they have this one. And so now they're a lot more focused on what this thing should be able to do rather than what it could do. And
much like Microsoft, yeah.
Yeah, much like Microsoft with HoloLens. And that's also why I was glad it was next to xCloud in the notes, because if the xCloud announcement today was a shot at Stadia, this is more of a shot at HoloLens, even if it's not a very good one.
That's the big deal there.
I guess the price is $9.99.
Oh wow!
But it seems to have a very similar. Well, I mean, it also has a much. It just has that tiny little thing in the top right section of your view, right? So it's not a full immersive headset like a HoloLens. HoloLens does a lot more. But yeah, it seems to like that the remote assist type of thing seems to be a big part of it. It runs Android out now, so you can easily port apps to Google Glass, which is probably its biggest advantage. And yeah, that's Google Glass. Buy one, $9.99.
It's much cheaper than the other ones, at least. So there's that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. For businesses, it probably matters more for what you're trying to do and what platform you want to standardize on. For consumers, you probably shouldn't ever buy either.
Yeah.
Like there's no real consumer application for this right now. I bet Microsoft will get a consumer HoloLens before Google Glass. I think that'll happen sooner rather than later. They're not committing to it. Maybe when I say sooner rather than later, I mean like maybe 2-3 years.
Yeah, that's like a reasonable goal.
Yeah.
They'll do it for gaming more than anything else too.
Yeah,
because Microsoft. Yeah.
And Microsoft's big on gaming, but they're laser focused on gaming right now.
Yeah, it's grown. I don't know why. Like you have this productivity focus they always have with every product they have, and then all of a sudden they care so much about gaming.
Like they had this big consumer push for a while, back with Windows 10 Mobile. Then they had Groove Music Pass, and they were focusing on movies and TV, and gaming is obviously a big part of that. And I always understood the gaming push for Microsoft because Windows is the only viable PC gaming platform. And so if you have the only viable PC gaming platform and you have a console, it only makes sense that you would try to bring these two things together, and you have a massive strength there. And so I mean, gaming, obviously there's a lot of money in gaming. Microsoft is in a unique position to offer it in a way that no one else can. And now they have the cloud backbone to have a streaming service. They have a VR play, even if it's not very good. But they did Windows Mixed Reality a while ago, and they've made very few improvements since then. We have some better headsets now, but you still have to be wired to a PC. But I mean, I've always understood the focus on gaming from Microsoft because they have these pieces that can put them in a position that's stronger than anybody else. And I remember when Phil Spencer who was the head of Xbox. Anybody doesn't know, he was promoted to the senior leadership team, and everybody was so confused about this. It just made so much sense to me because they really can provide more in gaming than I think anybody else.
Yeah, they definitely have a experience, and they have a lot of things to bank on. So
yeah, and the thing about Windows being the only viable PC gaming platform is that with the shift to mobile, they do want to be there, even though they don't have their own mobile platform. So I guess that's why xCloud is so important.
Yeah, of course. Mobile is a massive market, and of course they have to be there.
All right, so that's
And
all we got, right? Oh, wait, you got more?
I was just gonna mention the Switch again, because as far as
Yes.
mobile gaming goes, that's the best place, really. Because no one likes
Yes.
playing on a touch screen. No one likes playing on a touch screen. Very few games work well on a touch screen.
I mean, nah, I mean, I think of the Switch as more console gaming than mobile gaming because I mean, when we talk about mobile gaming being a $70 billion a year business, is talking about phones mostly, and like games like Candy Crush that bring in tons of money off of in-app purchases and stuff, and you know, a lot of people play like PUBG coming to phones. Like that's a big deal, and a lot of people use it. You know, and we're gonna see phones like it's gonna continue to evolve, and eventually it gets there. You know.
Yeah, that's true. But
All
I'm
right,
not
is
a
that?
big fan of mobile gaming myself. That's why.
I mean, I'm not either because I have an Xbox and a beautiful 4K TV. You know. Um, but a lot of people are, and there's a lot of money in it. You know. All right, guys, that's all we got. Next week we have Computex. So I wish I could go, man. I would love to go to Computex.
Me too.
You know?
Any
Well, it's just like it's such a PC focused event, and there's always a lot of cool stuff. And luckily, I know a lot of the cool stuff that's going to happen, and I can tell you, if you're interested in the PC space, it's going to be a good week.
Oh, that's good. I'm not usually the most focused person in terms of the PC market because I don't look for PCs that often. I
Yeah.
usually know more about the phone market. So that's why it's hard for me to talk about all these announcements that sometimes come with all the Lenovo laptops and all that.
Yeah, especially
It's
when they
usually
announce
dominated by
500
you.
laptops.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because there's only so many.
Yeah. Well, there will be a lot next week. I mean, I'm sure every major PC manufacturer will have some laptops next week or some desktops. Um, you know, we'll probably see Nvidia say something, and Intel will have some announcements. You know, so it should be good. You know what I expect? I expect Nvidia to announce Quadro RTX for mobile for
It's
mobile.
about
So
time. It's
yeah,
the only thing that's missing from the
it is.
rest. The RTX, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so I expect to hear about that next week, and that's what I'm curious about. And it's the one thing. Well, I don't know, you know. So that's it. So come back next week. You wanna pimp out your Twitter?
Yeah, let me spell it out as usual. So you can follow me on Twitter with the handle at Indospot, INDOSPOT.
All right, and I'm
And
at the Woods, and we'll see you guys next week.
all right, see you guys.